Hey, what's up, Toph?
Yo,
How are you?
pretty good.
Let's see. Oh, did Skype really just crash on me?
Hope not. I can still hear you.
Alright. It's like loading. So, how are you? You're just a big Skype symbol for now on the stream, but they can
Okay.
hear your voice. Alright, there we
Okay.
go.
That's the important thing. All right. What's up, guys? I'm all right. I don't know. I've been better. Pretty sleep deprived. Not feeling physically the greatest, but okay otherwise.
Are you going to GAML this weekend?
I am going to GAML this weekend against my better judgment. I'm like way too busy to actually justify going to a tournament, and yet here I am. So, whatever.
Well, you got the lady and you got the tournament, so...
That's a thing. Yeah, and largest Smash tournament in Canada of all time. So it's kind you know.
How many people?
Jeez, off the top of my head, Smash GG fortunately has that number. I want to say on the order of, 300-ish.
300-ish.
I want to say. View attendees. Is there a number on this page? There's no number, and I don't intend to count by hand, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, 386 attendees. There we go.
Holy...
And that's probably 386 uniques. So, melee between melee and Smash 4.
That's more than Genesis 1.
It's a lot, man.
That's insane.
Yeah, T-Dot doing it big. So.
That's insane. Did you see the Evo numbers?
I did. They're pretty phenomenal. It's kind of scary to think that there's still weeks to go. So.
What's your over/under?
My over/under. I think we'll hit 2,000. I think at least one of the Smash games will hit 2,000. I don't know which one. I don't know which one's bigger right now. Melee definitely had the momentum at the beginning, I think. And seems like Smash 4 caught up. So I don't know. I want to say like 10 to 2,300-ish.
I think so. And Smashers always pick up at the last minute, and we still have until June 30th.
Yeah.
A shameless plug, sign up before June 30th. Even if you don't get into the big room on the last day, there's a secondary room. So that's still hype. Come.
Tapo, did you know you overused the phrase shameless plug? That wasn't a shameless plug.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that wasn't anything. That was more of a public service announcement. That was more like, you guys should not register for me.
I think it comes from my overwhelming guilt that I hate asking people to do things.
You see, sometimes you just gotta,
I just gotta do shared interest.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, how's everyone doing today?
I think they're doing well. So, improvement stream is the topic today, and the reason why I have you on is actually for a different topic. I think less people would appreciate this, but from my observation of you, you've improved so much in commentary from just even a year ago, and I'm just curious, and I think there's a conscious effort that needs to be done to improve at the level that you have in the past year. So, just want to pick your brain and see like what you did.
Okay. No, yeah, it was definitely conscious. So, I mean, like, I think there are a lot of people like who don't necessarily commentate at a lot of events that just kind of do it for fun, and I mostly do it for fun too. Like, I still think of myself more as a competitor than a commentator. Most of my efforts for a tournament are preparing to do well in the bracket, not necessarily preparing for the commentary. But I've put a lot of thought into like getting better at commentary. I think the so like Apex 2014 was kind of a, let's see, I kind of started around, I think NCR 2013 was like the first kind of major tournament that I commentated. That was when me and Scar did it. And at first, speaking specifically with my duo with Bobby, we would kind of talk over each other a lot, and we're political, and we both have a lot of things to say. So we would kind of occupy almost the same role, and we would both try to like cram as much information as we could into the allotted time, which is like, obviously, that might only work if like both people are very much on the same page and very intent to not cut each other off, not interrupt each other, and that was not us at all. So the thing is, we were good at the analytical part of commentary, and I think you need to be good at both. You need to be good as a commentator, you need to be good at talking about the game, but you also, there's a thing I call commentator tech skill.
What's that?
Commentator tech skill is like, so D1's like the best at it. Commentator tech skill is like, you're so good at just all of the fundamentals of commentating that it almost doesn't matter what the game is. It almost doesn't, like someone like D1 could commentate like football or basketball and it would be fine, because like he knows how to, it's the most obvious when I commentate with him. He knows how not to interrupt people. He knows how to make his co-commentator feel acknowledged. He does the visual, you do visual cues that, you know, obviously the stream can't see, to like to do signals, things like that. So point is, I think me and Bobby have always been good at the analytical portion of commentary, but our commentator tech skill was lacking. And I think once I realized this, and I really started working at it consciously, and I would do it at events, and thinking about it, I think that was what took me from Apex 2014, where a lot of people I had a lot of fans back then, but I also had a lot of haters. And a lot of people would hate it and say, you know, oh, he's annoying, well, Toph and Scar are annoying. And then to Apex 2015, when overwhelming response, as far as I could tell, was like everyone really liked my commentary. And I really focused on, the thing that I focused on was just my personal weakness, which was that, what I call commentator tech skill, those fundamentals, just, you know, enunciation, not interrupting your co-commentator, all the little things that have nothing to do with what's actually being said. Because, you know, it's just like a conversation. So half of it is what you're saying, but half of it is how you're saying it.
Right.
And that was just, I mean, you know, the path to improvement is going to depend on different people. For me, that was my weakness. And I think identifying that and devoting conscious energy to it was really beneficial for me. And there's a side note I'd like to make, by the way, which was that I went into Apex 20. So, like I said, usually when I set goals for a tournament, my goals are as a player. But when I went to Apex 2015, my goal was, or one of my goals was, I'm going to commentate and I'm going to give the best commentary I ever have. And I think I did. But my specific, like, audience, because when you commentate, you commentate with your audience in mind, right? I was very specifically trying to appeal to the broadest audience possible. I was trying to do the most esports commentary I could while still retaining my own personal flavor. Yeah. And I was specifically trying to hit the mass market, like Reddit, if you want to go there, like the you know, the broadest audience possible. And I think, because I wanted to prove to myself that I could do that, and I actually kind of did. Like I did that, and that audience seemed to really like it. I proved to myself that, okay, if I go after that audience, I can win them over. So I actually have a small, like, personal commentary goal for myself right now. My current goal is that, okay, I've got that audience. I want to see if I can become the best commentator in the eyes of top players while not losing that first group.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out ways to, and hopefully I'll be able to show some of this over the course of the summer. I'm trying to figure out ways to drop little, you know, analytical bombs or whatever that top players would really appreciate. Mm. That also won't alienate the you know, the broader crowd. So that's my current goal, and that's kind of how I think of this sort of thing. I have little goals that, like, what I want to do. This is how, and lately it's kind of how I structure, like, trying to improve it. Melee too. Like my current goal as a player is, like, you know, I want to go to a tournament and I don't want to worry about. I'm trying to do a really good job of not worrying about the result before I go into a set, and just really focusing on reading my opponent and, like, focusing on my own fundamentals and focusing on having a good time and enjoying myself. So I set little, like, personal goals like that, like little intrinsic goals, and I find that helps me grow and produce results, as opposed to worrying, you know, too much about the results. Okay, so that's my whole spiel.
I see. So a couple questions that come to mind. So we're teetering this awkward thing where Smash is no longer this, like, really intimate small space of, like, 100 to, like, 300 people. Now we have an audience of people that don't necessarily play Smash. They don't go to tournaments. It's kind of like sports, where, like, you're kind of like a public figure, but we're not fully quite there yet.
Right.
And now, with that being said,
and I'm really starting to see it.
Yeah.
And I think I know where you're going with this, but yeah, go ahead.
So there's not that personality line where if I see somebody do really bad in sports, I can make fun of them. Like if they make a really bad mistake, because like I don't have a personal connection. Likewise, you as a commentator, you're a public figure, and they're disconnected from Chris Aldendorfer, and they make fun of you, they criticize you, they may give you praise too. So how do you balance finding feedback from the global, I guess the global network of people who, yeah,
yeah, this was something I really struggled with last year. I mean, the first, and this, I think a lot of commentators in particular would relate to this. I think the first piece of advice is don't completely disregard what they're saying. It's hard. Like the instinct is you either lash out back at them, or you hate them, or you get on this negative thing. I think it actually helps to pay attention to the haters. But you have to steel your mind, right? You have to steel your mind and say, okay, these people are saying something about me. And I can either run away from that or I can own that.
yeah.
So I would say, and it's exercise too, because I'm much more resilient to like hate and vitriol than I was a year ago, because you learn how to like listen to what someone's saying without getting too emotional about like, you know, oh, this person's coming at me this way. Like, okay, look, he doesn't even know you that well, right? So it's like, it's fine. You don't have to like take it that personally, but listen to what they're saying. And I think learning, that was the biggest thing I learned how to do outside of, like, as far as my commentary goes, the best thing I ever did for myself and for my commentary while I wasn't behind a microphone was learning how to listen to and take feedback from him without letting them get to me. And it's really hard to strike that balance, because usually either you can ignore them or you're gonna let them get to you. But to like be in the middle and like listen to what they're saying without actually, and you have to remind yourself too that this is the vocal minority. Most people don't care, and you know, more likely than not, most people like you than hate you. So you just gotta like remind yourself, like, hey, this is not that serious. But yeah, being able to strike that line where you're actually listening to what they're saying and drawing from it, and actually growing from it, and letting it steal you like mentally and emotionally is like really powerful, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's something that that we all experience, that, you know, for one reason or another, right? Or we're all learning, I guess, what it means to be in that public space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's
yeah.
So you talk about very like high level things. So like, you know, you go to a tournament, you know, you go home, you might be interviewing people till 3 a.m. and then you recover. Okay, so what does like the individual portions actually look like if you go into the nitty gritties of what you do to improve your commentary? Like, what are you thinking about?
You want to like recognize. It kind of depends on the commentator. Like if you're, it really depends on like case by case. There are commentators who literally like, the only thing I can tell them is you need to play the game more and get better at the game. Because like sometimes the worst thing about a commentator can just be that they say the wrong thing or they don't look for in a match. So I think the first step is identifying what your weakness is. For people who are pretty good at the game, that's already like a huge chunk of the work out of the way. The biggest thing then is just like when you're commentating, focus really hard on the fundamentals. Like don't interrupt your co-commentator. Like try to kill awkward silences. Just establishing that natural flow, and you have to do it consciously. Sometimes it doesn't come to you instinctively. Sometimes you go to commentate something and you feel tired, and you have to snap yourself into the moment and be like, no, I can't let my tired energy bring the stream down. Like I need to like, you know, or like even worse, you just lost in the tournament and then you have to go commentate and you're salty. Like you need to snap yourself out of it immediately.
Yeah.
And I know I didn't used to be good at this, but I'm really good at it now. And I think a lot of commentators are still not good at it, where they'll come on the mic and they'll start talking about their sets, their tournament sets. Like no one wants to hear that, dude. So getting like, you have to like actually like pull your positive emotion like from deep within you and be able to bring it out. So and like so all of these little things is like, it's all conscious. Like none of it comes naturally. You might be feeling a certain way, tough luck. You got to step up and you got to do your thing. You might, you know, have an inclination to interrupt your co-commentator or something. You might not be the best public speaker, but these are all things that you can work at and improve if you like focus on them. So you have to focus and be like conscious with it.
I haven't. So you and your commentator don't have, like, let's say there's an awkward silence. How do you guys decide who's gonna talk? Because that's something I have a weakness of, where we wait and then we both go at the exact same time.
Yeah. it's hard. And it's funny too, because I talked to Bobby about commentating a lot. I think commentating is like teams, man. How do like, okay, I'm gonna make an analogy here. I think there are two types of teams in Melee, right? There's like Muji King Hungry Box, where it's just two people who are astoundingly good at the game, and then you have like PewFat, where they're also really good, but they're, more importantly, they just really know each other really well, and they know how to complement each other's styles perfectly. Obviously, I'm drawing generalizations here, but I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
The more you know your co-commentator, the more you can play off of them and read them and understand whose turn it is to do what. And if you don't know them that well, sometimes you gotta make a guess, and sometimes you're gonna be wrong. Or visual cues are really useful. You can, like, the stream can't see you. You can do whatever you want with your face, looking at your co-commentator, your hands. You have all kinds of tools at your disposal to make your intent clear. So there are definitely things you can do. But I would say that the reason I love commentating with Bobby is the more you commentate with someone, it truly is like teams, where you learn how to play with them, you learn how to commentate with them. So, maybe your solution is you just need a regular co-commentator,
Regular partner. I think it's a good analogy that you use teams, because like when you were talking about how you interact with D1, I was like the philosophies and the principles you're showing are exactly what you do in teams. Like if they're going off, they're doing some Fox stuff, you don't interrupt them and hit the Fox. You let them go at it. And there are times where you compliment them. But
yeah, that's right. Incidentally, speaking of D1, so to me, commentating with Bobby feels like I'm in that PewFat sort of mode, where I just know this guy really well and we know how to play each other. Like, me and Bobby both kind of occupy the same niche. We're both analytical and we both like to talk a lot. But because we've done it so damn much at this point, we know how to play. I don't commentate with D1 nearly as much, but his fundamentals are so good. Teaming with him is more like teaming with like MacD or something. Like, it doesn't even feel like, we're really looking at each other a ton, but like he is just so good at like controlling the flow of the commentary that I feel comfortable with him, just because his fundamentals are so strong.
Right.
And like almost like he's just like a really good support Peach, whereas me and Bobby are like playing double Fox, so we're more volatile, but and we both fulfill the same role, but because we've played with each other enough, we know when who should go in.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. What was it? There's like, I think you bring up D1 and he gets the most flack out of anybody, but you put him with like a random new person, like, and I think he does better than anybody else in that regard.
Yeah, because his fundamentals are the strong. Why does he get flagged? That's like a new thing, right? Like last year he didn't get flagged. Like why is D1 getting flagged now?
I think the perception is that he's been sterile lately, and it seems like he's a little tempered, but so like in the likely, it comes down to like what do you cater to, and he caters to the much larger audience. So people that are on the fringes of Melee or come from another scene, they're gonna love D1. But I think for D1, if you're more familiar with the scene, like you've heard that style so many times, I think that older players have gone a little bit tired of it, but I still enjoy it, and I think a lot of people don't realize that D1's actually pretty good at the game.
Yeah, he's good actually. So is Prog, by the way. Yeah, that makes sense. So the criticism is like selling out, like, oh, he's a sellout or something.
I think it's a mix of that, and I think if D1 didn't commentate up to this point and he started commentating, I think it would be like a breath of fresh air. But I think it's because they've been so used to and familiar with him that it's kind of.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think for me it's like, okay, this is like a little bit of a tangent.
Yeah.
I'll keep it short. I think that people delineate between esports and grassroots more than they really need to. Like, it's not like a duality. Like, why is this a duality? Like, okay, grassroots implying that our scene has a spirit to it and a soul, and that it's the love of the game that propels our scene moving forward. Esports is that we're in the big money now, and so we need to appeal to a wider audience. So like you can do both, right? Because like in 2009, it's not like anyone was like, oh man, we're not trying to grow the scene. Everyone wanted to grow the scene.
Yeah.
So we don't lose our spirit just because we got money like, and likewise when it comes to commentary, like you don't have to stop being personable and analytical and and deep and emotional and all these things that we associate with truly good commentary just because you're appealing to a wide audience. Like that's my whole thing going into when I went into Apex this year. Like I said, I was really trying to appeal to a wide audience without losing that flavor that makes my commentary what it is. So I think that's totally possible, and I think people need to be more like, they need to challenge that more. They need to stop saying, oh, we're esports now, so we can or can't do this.
Yeah.
Like you can always have that, you can always like you can always be yourself, and you can always like put forth your passion that you have.
Yeah.
Whether or not there's money on it. That's all I'm saying.
I agree.
So.
There's one thing that's like really, so they're saying you're a little quiet, and I'm guessing that's a consequence of the Skype call, which always happens. Let me adjust your volume.
Okay.
But there's one thing that let's see. Let me move the volume. There's one thing that that I was always impressed with people like you and Lovage, and this is something I struggle with. So this is a personal question for my commentary. Is I can do matches that have a lot of gaps between because I like to be really analytical, but you're still able to be analytical even if the match is fast paced. And so I'm just wondering, like, if you have any advice on it.
Yeah, you have to, honestly, dude, you have to ignore certain things. Like, you can't talk about everything you want to talk about. That's just the reality of Melee. Yeah. It's so funny. I saw Ultra David do a call out to the Marvel community. He was like, how come Marvel commentators, if Dante gets hit and like Dante starts getting comboed, all they say is, oh, that's a dead Dante. So of course that's a dead Dante. Like, he's like, if you have a long combo going on, that is your opportunity to talk about the neutral game exchanges that led up to that moment, and to do further analysis as to what both players are thinking in this moment and what they're going to do next. And yet, every Marvel just imitates Yipes. They're like, oh, that's a dead Dante. And it's like, so you got to work with the medium you're given. In Melee, it's hard because even though we have long combos, there's DI. There's interaction even during a combo. I notoriously, and I've even said this before, Dizkid Boogie got a wobble, and I started explaining something, and at the end of the wobble, and I was like, and you will notice I took every opportunity I had to explain that thing during Dizkid Boogie's wobble. So I'll do that. I will find moments where I can talk, and I will talk. And can't talk because there's too much going on. You have to ignore stuff. You have to drop the things that don't seem as important. And you have to time box yourself. As soon as you start talking about something, you time box that thought. This interview is a horrible example, by the way, of what I'm about to say. But as soon as you start saying something, you time box yourself to 5 seconds. And if you can't finish your thought in 5 seconds, like, I don't know, you need to hurry it up. Which I'm not doing right now. But this is.
I mean, this is the space, so you have to play to the space.
Right. Exactly. That's my point. Work with your space.
It's just weird because this is something that like people have suggested to me in the past, and I have like soliloquies with myself in the car. Somebody suggested something similar to you, where like, can you explain wave dashing in 5 seconds? Can you explain why he got that conversion in 5 seconds? So I think of random situations, and then I'll try to commentate it or explain it in a really precise manner. Is that something that you think of? And
I don't do that with, it's funny. I don't do that with commentary, but I do that with other stuff. I do that with I just do that with like life stuff sometimes. Like sometimes I have a hard time explaining something to myself. Like I do it like programming concepts or even like interpersonal, because like those kind of things are really hard to explain. But like if you can train yourself to explain those things really quickly, you can explain anything quickly. So. Honestly.
What was your favorite tournament to commentate? I really personally, actually, I'll share my thoughts on after you tell your answer.
Okay. Let's see. Apex, this most recent Apex, in a way, biggest tournament of all time, and I actually really went into it like, okay, I'm going to nail commentary at this tournament, and it was really cool to see that pay off and be fruitful. And I got a really big block with Scar. Basically, like, the longer I get to commentate with Scar, the happier I am. So that said, in addition to that, any Big House. So Big House 3, Big House 3 and Big House 4 were also really fun to commentate. And Jungle Guy always gives Jungle Guy Super Homie always gives me and Bobby the top 8 for those tournaments. So
nice. I personally loved Big House 3. I think there were moments like effervescent and
little things like that, dude.
Shut up, Star Fox. I think that was like my favorite. Like I think Gimmer did it, but he put up the full like top 8 in one video.
Yeah. You can just go through that.
And sometimes I just like leave it on in the background and I just laugh.
That's funny, dude. You should here's an actual shameless plug. If you like what you saw at the Big House 3, the official announcement hasn't gone up yet, but in either 2 or 3 weeks on Monday, the Toph and Scar show is back. Trailer going, but you'll see. That's the whole premise. Is we're trying to give for the people. We're trying to give them more of that. So.
It's interesting to see because or like how like the Toph and Scar combination got brought up because Scar will always deny it just as he denies getting 6 at Genesis. That like you ended his career. He'll deny it.
Yeah, I retired him.
So context: Northwest Manifest, Washington tournament. While you're still in Washington at school, we go to the tournament. Toph beats him in a best of 5, and Scar on his lean melee mysteriously disappears out of the scene. Like after that tournament, coincidentally after losing to you.
And he was training really hard for that tournament. Like he was streaming and he wrote articles and then he just went off the face of the earth real quick.
Okay, but Scar says that he tells the story of how Toph retired him all the time. So
that's true. I was gonna say Bobby actually admits to it, which is it is really funny. Like I think the whole the way our commentary duel got just so funny because there's that there's the fact that we used to be, I wouldn't say rivals, but there's that story. With Bobby in particular, I mean, I used to say all the time that he commentated on the planet after ROM 1. He commentated Mega vs. UT King. And it's like, how did you go from being the worst commentator? That's like most improved. It's like the worst, literally the most unbearable commentary of just bitching about Jigglypuff, and then going to be arguably one of the greatest commentators of all time. It's like come on, dude. It's just funny how things work out. Even within the span of 5 years, so much can happen, so much can change. So I think that's pretty funny.
Dude, it's so funny because the So Broken meme followed Scar wherever he went. At Genesis, we taunted him for whenever he played Mango or Razlin or whatever, we were just chanting "So Broken." Dude, Scar wants retribution. He wants you to mention what happened in pools.
I just typed in the chat. He beat me in pools. He beat me in pools. We played them. We were the 2 top seeds in the pool, and we played the last match. It was a round robin pool, and I got swiftly 2-0'd, and I was upset about it. And I remember actually I was talking. Zoo called me. We were talking on the phone that night, and he's like, "How'd your pools go?" Blah blah blah. And I was like, I lost a Scar. I was really upset. I was like, if I play him again, I would beat him. I was like, I'm just really upset about that. I really felt like I could have won. I played pretty not up to my standard. And he was like, yeah, you can do it, whatever. And then it's good to set it, like we've been saying, it's good to set a goal, and then you see the results come to fruition. So day 2 rolls around, and it's a brand new day. The sun's risen, better weather, and 3-2. So, who's to say? Who's to say, right?
Yeah. Oh, what was the first tournament you and Scar did? I remember bits and pieces of Gasp Scar at NorCal Regionals.
Oh man, dude, I like the Gasps actually. I gotta go soon, by the way.
Okay.
But for work. But I liked Gasp Scar honestly. But yeah, that was the first tournament we commentated, and it was pretty grand. Honestly, so it's funny, different people prioritize different things for commentators. Um, like certain people like different things out of their commentators. That's why people have different tastes and there are different audiences. From my point of view, I actually value analytics and being able to eloquently talk about in-game exchanges the most. So from my point of view, we were never that bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Because from that point of view, like, we were always fine. It's just that we talked over each other and we didn't know how to control the pace of the commentary and the flow and all those things, all the things that comprise a good conversation. But from the analysis point of view, we were always fine. So from my point of view, Bobby was always pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, after round 1. So it's just funny how that works out. Like, when people talk about good commentary, like, man, there are so many different metrics. And you have to pay attention. If you really want to be, popular, you do those metrics. You got to at least... I'm not saying you got to do everyone and make everyone happy, but it's cool to at least know what's going on. Like, to at least be able to say, say, okay, I'm good at this, I'm not so good at this.
Yeah, I agree. Like, there's going to be style, and one may not be necessarily better, but there are also things that, like, you could get better. Like, saying correct information is always better than saying wrong information.
Yeah.
So, any closing thoughts, since I know that you have to head out?
Yeah, closing... If there's one thing to take away from this, it's not a okay, if there's one thing to take away from this and you are a commentator, learning, dealing with the crowd and dealing with, internet vitriol is, something that eventually you're just gonna have to learn how to deal with, and it's gonna make you better as a person. So get used to that. And that actually applies to players too. Like, if you get good enough, you're gonna get haters. If you end up being top 30 in the world and you have fans and haters, as current fans and haters, you're gonna have to get used to that. So, learn how to steal your emotions, and I think it'll make you a better person.
Yeah.
And when it comes to improvement, just set concrete goals for yourself, and be able to actually, if you can actually tell what's going on, what you need to work on, that's 70% of the battle right there. So,
I agree. Well, it was good chatting with you. Have a wonderful Friday and a safe trip to GAML.
Thank you so much. My flight's tonight. Taking the red eye.
Alrighty.
So see how that goes. Okay.
Good luck. All right. Good night.
See you guys. Yep, and good luck with the rest of the stream. Peace.